Hello and welcome to Underrated, Overrated, a series where I take the weekend's best performances and analyse them and put them into a bracket of either underrated or overrated. We had a fantastic weekend's action. I went to you guys on Twitter and asked you what performances you'd like to hear me analyse, and you picked out Monmoral, Daschle Drasha, Liznagara, Champ, and of course Goshen, which I'm sure you're all excited to hear my views on. Let's get right into it. So we'll kick things off with Monmoral for Paul Nicholls. Now I was really taken with this performance. I think he's a big raw horse at this point and he's learning plenty. They're going to skip Cheltenham with him, which I think's quite key, and they're going to be going to Aintree, it seems. Without getting too carried away, I would say this is most probably the most impressive juvenile hurdler we've seen on this side of the Irish Sea. I did really rate Nassalam going into the race, and Monmoral made him like a tree. He absolutely blew past him, and I think there's plenty more in the tank. Now his sire, Saint de Saint, French was never really my strong point. Now he's been the sire to Jacadam, St Calvados, and Burrows Saint. So the best days are still yet to come with this horse. He's not supposed to be a 2 mile hurdler by any means. He's going to be a big 3 mile chaser in time and one to very much keep on the right side of. I would also like to note I think Nicholls has a few other horses like this in his yard. For example, Solo, Pic Dory, and Sir Psycho. All three of them, the best days are ahead of them, and they're still very young, and I can't wait to see what they do in the years to come. Next on the list is Daschle Drasha, and without being too boring, I would say this is most probably a properly rated performance. It was a really strong Ascot chase going into it. You can most probably argue that Surname hasn't performed to the level we know he can run to, but most probably ran to the level we've come to expect of him. I think Master Tommy Tucker has run to form though, and that is a high level of form to run to. Matt Griffiths does need big praise for his, I think it was a race-winning move down the back straight. Surname was probably trying to fill up his lungs before that final kick, but Daschle Drasha gave him no time for that at all. Came up alongside him and Surname quite quickly folded. Now, it has been reported by Nicholls that Surname possibly has a wind issue and they're going to tinker with that and try and get him back up, so that could definitely be a part of it. But I do think it was a fantastic move from Matt Griffiths. I'm quite excited to see what this horse can do next year. Given the way that race played out, it looks like Daschle Drasha will have no problem staying, and I'd be very interested to see him run over an easy 3 miles, whether that's the Betfair Chase, the King George, or even the Denman Chase or the Betware Bowl. Something along those lines would be very interesting. I wouldn't pin my hopes on him lasting the Gold Cup trip, but definitely a horse that these owners and connections can all be excited about going forward. Next on the list is Liznagara. And if I was to lean one way, I'd most probably lean towards an underrated performance. He was ridden really aggressively, and the vibes beforehand was that he's going to come on a bundle for the run. I don't think they needed to be that aggressive on him, if I'm perfectly honest with you, because there was Donna's Diamond and Bally Optic in the race. And they're obviously quite prominent front runners anyway, but they did go for that, and it almost paid off for them. My slight concern is that this is going to be 3 weeks away from Cheltenham, and it might have taken a little bit out of him. But looking at his normal seasons, he's normally campaigned quite aggressively. 8 runs as a novice hurdler. He had 6 runs last season. He's only had 3, and obviously that's due to having a wind issue. So he does look like a horse who does take his races well. Now, if the Stayers Hurdle division was a little bit weaker, because it is a very strong division this year, then possibly I'd say he's an each-way proposition. He is 20 to 1. We know he handles the track, and he obviously is last year's winner. Maybe that is a touch overpriced, given what he has achieved, and we definitely know he's going to give good running for himself. So yeah, an interesting horse to look forward to for the Stayers, possibly a good each-way bet. Next on the list is going to be Champ, and I would definitely put this in the underrated category. I think I should start off by saying a huge congratulations to Henrietta Knight. I was definitely cautious of this horse's jumping going into the game Spirit, but she must have done some serious work on that because he jumped like a pro over those fences. I looked back at last season's RSA, and he's just making, if not a mistake, he was just slow over every single fence. And I do sort of have maybe a theory as to why he was so good this weekend. And maybe someone who deals with horses more regularly than me, or more hands-on than myself as well, could shed some light on this. So what I'd like to sort of pitch forward is that maybe over 2 miles, where races are happening so fast in front of him, he doesn't have the time to think about what he's doing, and it's because he's so naturally talented, he just does it. Over 3 miles, you're going that stride slower, it takes longer to come up to your fences, and he can start maybe getting a bit guessy at them. And for someone who doesn't know the ins and outs and workings of a horse's mind, that's what it looks like to me, and hopefully someone can shed some light on that. But let's say his jumping is better, and he hasn't bounced going into the Gold Cup. I'd have him as a really live chance. I was very taken and impressed by his performance this weekend, and we know he stays. He showed that in the RSA. He could be a very live contender for the Gold Cup, and if turning up on the day, looking good form and good vibes going into it, he could definitely be my play in the Gold Cup. And last on the list is Goshen. Let's not lie, this is the reason why you clicked on the video. I would say from his performance this weekend, that was definitely an overrated performance. 9-2 for the champion hurdle. In my eyes, have a day off. That was a windy enough looking grade 2. The one horse who actually had some sort of presence in the champion hurdle, who raced in the King Wow Song for Someone, from very early on you could tell that he wasn't going to be going a yard. He was niggled along from a long way out and just, sort of lacked pace in the race. It was a big effort, and I imagine it did take plenty out of him. Given that Cheltenham is 3 weeks away, I'd be very surprised if he could actually back that performance up. But I am happy to see his inclusion in the champion hurdle. For all I think there's been an overreaction in the market to Goshen, he is another angle into the race with another pace angle into the champion hurdle. It's already going to be a very fast run race, and it does make that contest even more intriguing. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed Overrated, Underrated. Just to let everyone know, these are opinions. Everyone does have a different opinion, and what I'd like to know down below is how you rank those weekend's performances. Were they underrated or were they overrated? I'll be sure to try and get back to as many as you as possible, if not all of you, to converse about why we think differently or even the same, and it should be very interesting. I'll catch you all guys on Wednesday when I do the head-to-head series with Dan, so that'll be up a little bit later on this week as well. Anyway, have a good evening.